In this week's channel message with the angels, they are telling us how to consciously use the four directions and our physical bodies to help us connect. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. And if you are new here, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. And that just means I move my awareness up as high as I can go and a little higher. I connect and the messages come through. I transcribe them and I share them here with you on YouTube. And this is a fascinating message. They have been talking with us both last week and this week about working with the physical body, understanding the body as a conscious being. And most of us don't even recognize the ways in which our physical body is actually influencing us, and they say it can help us if we're just aware of it. So they're giving us the code here of understanding specifically how the body works within the four directions to connect to the angels, to connect to all things, to the subconscious mind, to nature. So super, super cool. So if you have not yet subscribed, don't forget to do it. There's a little button down there just below the description box, and you can hit the bell, and that way you won't miss it when I post next week. Hope you guys enjoy the message. So let's get to today's message. It is really interesting and totally different from your typical angel talk. Here they have been, again, all about the body, just like last week when they were talking about our body and they were getting more into that. You know how they kind of go in themes. Like for a while, that was all about what is an angel. Right now, we seem to be on this topic about the body and our relationship to the body and what is it. So last week they were telling us that it's like a sentient being that we are occupying. They were talking about the collective consciousness. So fascinating, right? So, and if you didn't see that, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I can put a link to that in the description box. But this week is again about the body, but about how we use it in our relationship to things on this earth plane and how we can use it deliberately. So, okay, so let's get into it if you are ready. They say the proper orientation to begin our assembly is always north. And I broke this down into short paragraphs, so I'm just going to talk about each one as we go. So when they say the proper orientation to begin our assembly, that means that when we are engaging with the angels, when we're it's us and we're wanting to talk to the angels, and this is like, how clear can they be? The proper orientation to begin our assembly is always north. So for those of you who are shamans, who are interested in shamanism, you guys know that there is meaning within the four directions. And I think there's probably different interpretations for different cultures. One way that I've heard the north spoken of is as introspection and as earth energy. And there's also like crystals associated with it and all kinds of stuff, but introspection. And interesting that it is considered earth energy. But this is the direction that the angels say when we want to speak to them, it helps us if we are facing north. They've never told me that before. All right. And you're saying, woohoo, about relationships to our being. Yeah, it is so interesting, right? And stuff we're just not aware of. Okay, so north, talk to the angels. The next one, they say, the orientation of yourselves is east. This understanding is handy to gravitate your body into a fixed position. Again, there's so much in every sentence that they say. So the interpretation I have always understood of east is air and beginnings, the beginnings of things. So I think this is amazing because we are in this space. We are in a space of creation. The whole point of coming to Earth is about learning to create, learning to exist in this three-dimensional space and seeing ourselves as creator. And it's all about the beginnings, living in the now and beginning from now, right? They were talking about just recently to me about how we have been creating up until now as a almost like energy has poured through us. And they just showed it to me as almost like we are a puppet on the stick of our own creative energy. And the creative energy comes through us and we have not that much power over it. Like we're a filter and it pours through us and we're just kind of on the edge of the stick of creative energy. And that's shifting to a place where we are the space of once we fully embody ourselves, once we come to a place of true self-appreciation, and that's the key. When we get to a space of true self-appreciation, then all of a sudden we become fixed, like they're talking about in this paragraph. They say, do you gravitate your body into a fixed position where we are fixed and the world and all the energy is moving around us, and we become the origin point for the source of energy for our creation into the world. And I know that's a lot. I should unpack that for like 2 hours because there's so much in there. But I guess I'm just speaking as I get it. I know there's like so much here, you guys. And I know we don't have 2 hours this morning. I really appreciate that you're here with me for this time period. So I'll try to stick to the topic. I will try. And you say, sun rises in the east, creation. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh, I love that. That is, you're right. And you also saying this is what I have experienced too around the north, that is where we connect with the angels, right? So amazing. Okay. So east, this understanding is handy to gravitate your body into a fixed position. So as we're trying to come into full appreciation of ourselves to get to this new stage of manifesting, this new state of conscious awareness, which is what they're really talking about, east is for ourselves. Okay. Next, they say the standing of nature is west. The obligatory season unfolding is near and hearkens its coming on that degree. So the West, I've always associated with harvest and water. So that's perfect in terms of the standing of nature, right? About what is the fruit. So we are in the beginning, we're creating, and our creating goes out into the world and creates stuff to harvest, right? So that's West. So the stuff that we are creating in the world is coming from the West. And that's water, which is, again, I love that's the embodiment of spirit on earth. So I think that is super cool. The obligatory season unfolding is near and hearkens it's coming from that degree. So all of the earth changes are coming from the West. So there's so much in this, you guys. All right, next. They say, you are needing to assemble with ourselves to become complete, to open and kneel before your own tidings and goodness and feel rising in your own beginning. This comeuppance draws near, but understanding your orientation is an aid to your being. So they're saying that we need to assemble with them. When they say assemble, they mean like talk with them. They mean come together and meet and converse and understand and have a conversation. So they were needing to assemble with them to learn to hear what they're telling us, to become complete. So they're really urging us, this whole idea of becoming fixed, of becoming, and is the best way I can say it, is what they've said before, into full appreciation of ourselves. This is what they're really urging us to get to as we're going through this crunching period that we've been in, as we're facing our karma and going through it, and all the stuff is rising up. Like, we're really trying to get to a space of releasing all of our self-judgment, all the ways we limit ourselves, coming into full appreciation of ourselves. So they're saying we need to listen to them, to work with them, to hear them, come into assemble with them, to learn what they're trying to tell us. To become complete is what we're trying to do right now, and trying to open and kneel before our own tidings and goodness. So that is listening. Tidings is listening to our own guidance, coming into understanding of our own goodness. It's really appreciating ourselves, right? And rising into our own beginning. So when I love that, again, the East beginning, we're coming into our own beginning, right? It's getting fixed in ourselves. But understanding your orientation is an aid to your being. So this is going to help us in this process. And you're saying the sun rises in the east, creation. Oh, thank you. You guys are so smart. I appreciate you. Thank you for helping me. So, okay. So they go on to say, next paragraph. But now you ask us why we present things in this dialogue. That was me going like, what is this about? This is weird. In a conversation with them, I'm like, oh, why are you guys talking about directions? Because I'm kind of half out of it when I'm channeling it. So they sometimes pick when I start questioning, why are you saying this? So they say, you are now, but now you ask us why we present things in this dialogue. Make sure I didn't skip anything. Okay. And we say your housing holds the diameter of Earth within it. It is the housing of diagnosis and conclusion for understanding. And this polarity exists in your being to help you gradually determine how all things relate to one another. There are no absolutes of understanding, only polarity where you exist. Therefore, housing as you have it determines your placement in relation to all things. Again, a paragraph we could unpack for 2 hours. So here they're acknowledging that I'm questioning, like, why are we talking about this? And they're saying that our housing holds the diameter of Earth within it. So think about this: if the Earth is on a pole, on an axis, right? We see it as this, as an upright axis, and then it rotates. So it's like it's the up and down axis, and then the 4 directions. We are the same thing, that we embody the diameter of Earth inside of ourselves. So we are vertical most of the time, right? We have a north and south, like we have a pole that we are on, an axis, and then around us as we are standing in this in our relationship to the world is the four directions. So they're saying we have this diameter of earth within us. So we are just, and they always talk about this too, that what is true in the big is true in the small, that what's true for us is true for the earth, is true for the universe, right? It just keeps on going. Even the earth, if you look at, I mean, the universe, if you look at a picture of the universe, it is sort of on an axis and then the diameter around it. So it is the housing of diagnosis and conclusion for understanding. So we are meant to use this body to comprehend things. Like it is an instrument of learning, of experimentation and testing and learning through. It's like when you see a baby, how when you have a young child, the way that they start engaging with their environment is they put everything in their mouth because it's their best way to understand things. It's their learning instrument. They have the most senses there. So they put everything in there and try to understand, what does it taste like? What does it feel like in the mouth? So the whole body is meant to be like that. It's meant to be an instrument for understanding and perceiving our reality in the space that we are in our embodiment. So it is the diagnosis and conclusion, diagnosing what we're experiencing, coming to conclusions for our understanding. And that's understanding about ourselves in relationship to all things. And this polarity exists in your being to help you gradually determine how all things relate to one another. So, and that's not only how we relate to all things, but then how they relate to one another as well, how all things are in relationship to each other. So they say there are no absolutes of understanding, only polarity where you exist. This is huge. So in other words, the only truth we know, the only way we can understand things is by what they are not, is by what, in other words, we can understand a dog because it's not a cat. We understand a fish because it's not a dog, right? We understand, we can diagnose something or understand something. Like, how do you describe something? You describe it by the qualities it has that make it different from other things. So it's always by comparison. This whole existence is about polarity and comparing and trying to develop a frame of reference that helps us understand the world by comparing each thing to something else. And then we try to stick them into categories to help us draw a relationship between things. And this is the whole process of how our brain works. And so there is no absolutes. The only truth is that you are everything. I know that just feels like so much right there, right? I feel like we could unpack that for another hour. So, okay, there are no absolutes of understanding, other than the fact that you are all things, that you are the truth of all things, that you are everything. Other than the fact that so we are in this space of polarity where we can experience separateness, and we understand that separation by this is what I am not. And therefore, housing as you have it determines your placement in relationship to all things. So this is why this is important. Why do we need to understand that? Is by the whole idea of this housing and understanding our body and how we use it as an instrument for learning about ourselves in our environment. Okay, they go on, because then I was asking, they say the South, because they didn't mention that one, the South inhabits your being as well, but what lies underneath? The great subconscious of all things, the undeterred life stream that moves among you now and calls itself into life upon the breath you breathe. It is ever present in this polarity. So, and I understand the South as being about passion and fire. So this is that subconscious mind, the collective subconscious, right? Anything that is that unconscious energy. And I love that, understanding it as a passion or as a fire is what ignites us, right? And where does that come from? From all the places and things that have affected us, that have left a mark on our unthinking being, right? All of the influences that we're carrying around that we're not totally aware of that act on us. And I like how they say that it's the undeterred life stream, that it's a thing that we don't have a lot of control over, that it is undeterred, that it keeps on going regardless of whether we want it to or not. That we are the victims of our own subconscious energy, our own subconscious minds. And so it is the undeterred energy. Whereas the undeterred life stream that moves among you now and calls itself into life upon the breath you breathe. So it is, as we live and breathe, our subconscious is moving through us and creating through us and making all these things happen. And sometimes we wish it wasn't. So, okay, so that is the South. The South is the collective unconscious, the collective conscious mind, right? Our own subconscious energy is to the South. They go on to say, there is meaning for understanding your housing. Knowing this about yourselves is to feel your presence among all things. There is directionality to impose upon your regularity. You can perceive us directionally. You can open portals of understanding by using this direction we have condoned. You can feel in your being bodily where you have been sent in your thinking. To connect with us, face north. This polarity brings harmony between our beings. So they're saying that we should use this, that we should use this understanding of placement of our body in order to enhance our connection of what it is and to be present of what are we trying to connect to. So in other words, if we are trying to work with the unconscious mind, face south. If we are trying to connect to the angels, face north. And they're saying that this will help us, that it brings the body into the equation and uses what's already happening, that we are kind of, are we working against it? Kind of, where it's a power that we have, an ability that we have that we're not using. And that's really what they're saying. Here's another tool that we can add to our tool chest to help us as we're trying to work consciously with our own energy. So, so you can feel us in your being bodily. You can feel in your being bodily where you have been sent in your thinking. So it is the harnessing between your conscious mind and the physical body and using the two together. So you're saying face south, unconscious mind, so good, right? You know, and it makes so much sense to connect with them facing north. I do too. And it makes me think about like, okay, where I need to change my chair orientation from where I meditate and make sure that, you know what I mean? If I'm connecting with angels, I want to be there. Or if I'm, so yeah, I actually need to be swinging, because sometimes in a session I'm going into the unconscious mind, but it's something to become aware of. How can we use this in our work on ourselves, our work with other people? I think it's huge. All right. So they go on to say when we connect with us face north, this polarity brings harmony between our beings. So it's an easy way to help us in our connection with the angels. Next paragraph, they say, is it necessary? No, it is not. It is only harmony to be perceived in your body being. You can avail yourselves upon it to reach higher than you have previously, to aid your being in the transport of what you know of who you are, to be deliberate in connecting to us. So I love that they said this. They said, okay, it's not, is this essential? Can you do it without facing north? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You already connect, like you probably have not been doing this and have been connecting just fine, but it can help. It can enhance, right? They're saying that it can just, that doing this can help you get to a slightly higher frequency because you're using more of what you've been gifted with. And doing so, they say that it transports more of what you know of who you are. So all this whole experience is about trying to access more of what we are, trying to connect to more of what we are. And our body in this incarnation is what part of what we are. So can we use more of it? How can we be availing ourselves of more and more of the tools that we've been endowed with? And this body is one of them. To be deliberate. They're saying be deliberate in connecting with them. All right. They go on to say, and you're saying, and does this have to do with muscle testing? Muscle testing is absolutely using body wisdom for sure. That is, so the body, if you're trying to connect to the wisdom of your physical body, which they taught, that was last week's whole Friday Live was about that, and about the consciousness of our body. And so, yes, absolutely, muscle testing is tuning into that. So it's a great way of developing your relationship with the entity that is the body you're inhabiting. So thanks so much for mentioning that. Yeah. And you said the directions in particular. I think if you are, in terms of connecting to the body, they're saying that all that is to the east. So if you're trying to use muscle testing, you probably want to face east, because that is everything. And they go into that a little bit more down here. So I think that would be muscle testing, go east, unless you're trying to access the subconscious mind, which is south. Yeah. Okay. But muscle testing is about connecting to the wisdom of the body, usually. Okay, so then the next paragraph, here's where they talk about it. They say, to face all things, go east. Look upon yourselves as being indeterminate in focus and avail yourselves of each polarity. Use it to open yourselves, to feel below the subconscious of yourselves, of all things, of Earth herself as a being. This you can avail yourself by physically turning south. Head east to know all who remain, all who breathe. So in other words, the subconscious, they're saying, go south. To anything that's breathing, go east. So anything that's physical, all who remain, in other words, all who remain living on the earth, go east. And that would include your physical body is east. So hopefully that makes clear. I'm facing north to Eddie, to your amazing force new. That's awesome. Yeah. And you're saying I'm facing north. What's west again? So west was, let me go back. West was the the standing of nature is west. The obligatory season unfolding is near, and hearkens is coming on that degree. So that's like, yeah, the nature, like the seasons, the four seasons. And my understanding of it has always been harvest and water. So the standing of nature is west, which is different from the all things that are the conscious breathing, like all things who remain, which is the all conscious souls and all conscious things that have been created that are east. All right. So then, okay. So they go on, and you're saying, and sunset is west. Yes. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And that's harvest too, right? Sunset, harvest. That's really interesting. The culmination, I would see that as, right? What are we, and think about that as us as creators. We are the beginning facing east. We create, we put our energy out into the world. And then what do we get back at the end of the day is what's given to us. We put our energy out into the world to create something. That something is given to us through the harvest. And that's like the sunrise, sunset. So that it makes so much sense. Okay. So then they go on to say, what have you now in focus? What do you face? This polarity acts upon your being. Though you do not concern yourself of it, it is a language you rarely speak. Now you know of it. The language beneath your body being perceives us differently and speaks the rhythm of breathing. The north and south polarity of its own orientation and axis of relationship to understand its place among all things on this plane of existence. To honor this and play the music of yourself within the rhythm of its breathing opens you now to perception unseen. So this is, they're saying, okay, why do we want to learn this? Why do we want to know about this? So they're saying, be aware that this does have an influence, that even though we're not aware of it, that we don't normally speak this language, that it's happening and that we're just not tuning into it. So it affects us on some level. And so they're saying it's what do you face? So where are you? So even think about this, like what is the placement of, and some of this is feng shui too, like which direction are you sleeping in? That's interesting. But also really for when you're consciously trying to tune in, what are you facing and how are you using this language that your body speaks? So the language beneath your body being perceives us differently. So the physical body perceives the angels and it perceives it differently than we do. And the body being perceives it north. So, and speaks the rhythm of breathing. So this is how the actual body being is speaks through the process of breath, the process of breathing itself out into the world and then receiving back again. This is part of the language of the body. It's like an energy exchange, right? The north and south polarity, which is what we were talking about, how the physical body is on an axis, just like the earth is on an axis, north and south, and we would think of it that way. The north and south axis of a polarity of its own orientation and axis of relationship to understanding its place among all things on this plane of existence. So it stands in this. So this is this one sentence we could unpack. Here we go. So understand the north and south polarity of the orientation of our body. So think about grounding to earth and connecting to spirit. Right. So that is the north and south relationship that we are in. We are the bridge between the earth and source is the physical body. And then they say, and it is an axis of relationship. So we are on an axis of relationship to understand its place among all things on this plane of existence. So we are the bridge between earth and source. And then all around us, just like it is on the earth, it's on a plane and it has northwest, southeast. That is how we understand our relationship to all things. So it really is describing how we operate as a spiritual entity, that we are on this plane, that we are the bridge between the earth and source, and we are understanding ourselves in relationship to everything by being here on this plane of existence. Okay, that was pretty cool. So cool. Okay, and you're saying, I just changed my bedroom around. My best used to face north, or my bed used to face north south. Now it faces east with my head to the east. So that would be tuning into all things, to all things that are breathing, which is interesting. All right, and then okay. what was the rest of this? North and south polarity. To honor this and play the music of yourself within the rhythm of its breathing opens you now to perception of unseen. So by being conscious of this and the way your body is operating on the earth, using its breath based on its orientation, using this opens you now to new types of perception that you may not have been aware of before. They're asking us to tune in and to use it as a tool. They go on to say, next paragraph, and this is they're joking as they say this, they were laughing as they say this, because the angels don't feel jealous. They just love. But so they say this with tongue in cheek. They say, we do harbor now a jealousy to be given to your understanding. This inhabitation you do well is not for our understanding. We cannot inhabit this. And they're saying this, by the way, to help us recognize that this is precious, that this is something that's valuable. So they go on to say, your polarity exists for only a season. Use it well to aid you now, to draw your focus inward and hear the column and divide of your own ancestry. The housing that speaks its token through living. The very expression of life is this being you occupy for a season. It is you now. Perceive it gently. Use its focus upon the earth. Walk with it. Love that. So they are joking, but they're trying to say, yeah, it's awesome what you have. You guys should be using it. They're like, oh, I'm jealous. You know what I mean? Like, we want it too, even though they don't really. But they're trying to say this is a valuable thing. They're saying your polarity exists for only a season, that this is not, and that is two things there. That is, not only do we get to incarnate for a short time, that we come to the earth and we only get to be here. Life is short. Look at how fast time is going right now. So it's short in terms of your own incarnation, but it's also short in terms of the season of humankind's development, that we will move beyond this experience of the human body, that we won't always experience living this way, that we will get to a space where we are more light body than we are physical body. So this is a season, and it may have seemed like an eternity, like a long time that we've been able to be in these bodies. But in the concept of all that is, it's been a blink, an absolute blink. Look at the history of Earth as a planet, and you can see, it's this super long timeline, and then the time period where humans have been existing is like this big at the very end. So it's really a short period of time. They're saying enjoy it, like take advantage. This is not a long period. Be in it. So they're saying it is only for a season. Use it well to aid you now, to draw your focus inward. And then I love how they describe this, to hear the column and divide of your own ancestry. And they've talked about ancestry and the human body and DNA like this before, the column and divide. This is about how we put things into containers. We divide things. It is that sort of human thinking. About who do we belong to? Who were we a part of? Who is our relationship and who is not? We break ourselves into communities and into nations. This is how we do everything. We're always about who am I with and who am I against? The column and divide. This is a physical body thing. It influences, and I think they talked about in last week's Friday Live as well, that this is part of the sort of our human body conditioning, is to figure out who can we rely on, who can we count on, who can we make camp with and protect ourselves against the other invaders, right? It's that column and divide thinking. So we want the housing that speaks its token through living. So understanding the human body, understanding what we are inhabiting, can help us to use it as a tool. Is really what they're saying. The very expression of life is this being you occupy for a season. So it really is like, if you want to understand living, pay attention to your body. It is you now. Perceive it gently. So with huge respect, right? Huge respect for the entity that's allowing us to inhabit it. They say, use its focus upon the earth, walk with it. All right, next paragraph. The entry to this understanding, your housing speaks gently. Be with presence. Lean into the opportunity. Feel within yourself the draw of feeling, of sensory apparatus. Be quiet and still and let it speak. And so they're really saying here that this is not a loud voice, that you as a conscious being are so much louder than the body you inhabit, that you hear your own thoughts, but the body is there and you have to get quiet to hear it. And so they're really encouraging us to saying, be quiet and still and let it speak and use it. Use it as a tool, use it as a partner. Like they're really saying, walk with it. Like we really want us to honor the body as a separate being and to understand the sacrifice that it makes to allow us to come in and to inhabit it, right? Super, super cool. Our bodies are our temple. Yeah, that really does add meaning to that statement, doesn't it? It's not just about, yes, like what we feed it and how we take care of it, but also how we listen to it and how we walk with it. So cool, you guys. I had no idea where this was going, but clearly they are on a little bit of a section here. The current last two, this one and last one, were both about understanding our relationship to our bodies, and really, really helpful to me. I hope it was to you guys too. Very interesting. And I will definitely be using that for myself in terms of just being present and aware. And they said, you don't have to, like, it doesn't mean that if you're not facing north, you can't connect with the angels. And we all know that, right? I connect with them and I'm not facing north most of the time, but now I'm going to use it and see how that helps me. So I hope you guys will too. Have a phenomenal weekend. We're going to have good weather here finally in the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be sunny. I cannot wait. Have a great weekend, you guys. Sending you lots of love. And I will see you next Friday live. Bye-bye, you guys.